They left her behind, just like that. No warning, no kindness, no explanation. One moment she was holding the boarding passes, her heart fluttering with joy. The next, her own mother was whispering, "You'll have to stay back, Nala." There was a mix-up. Her sister avoided her eyes. Her brother walked away, fingers laced with his lover's hand. And there she stood, beneath the blinding lights of Mbayani International Airport, holding dreams that had just shattered. But what they didn't know, what they could never have imagined, was that this moment, this cruel, quiet moment, would be the start of Nala's becoming. In the dusty outskirts of Makula, a town wrapped in red soil and the scent of roasted groundnuts, lived a woman named Nala Kintu. She wasn't famous, she wasn't loud, but her hands stitched miracles into cloth, and her silence carried strength. Many mistook for weakness. Her home was a narrow compound made of sun-baked bricks, shaded by a crooked pawpaw tree. Inside lived her entire family, a puzzle of love, duty, and deep exhaustion. Her father, once a proud drummer of the village, had grown quiet since losing his job at the tannery. Now he spent most days under the veranda, sipping lukewarm tea and watching birds. Her mother ruled the kitchen like a kingdom, her hands quick, but her words often sharp. Nala's siblings, 3 younger ones, buzzed with youth and demands. They needed school fees, they needed bus fare, they needed love, and they got it, all of it, from Nala. At 19, when most girls were dreaming of anklets and love letters, Nala took charge of the house, not because she wanted to, because no one else would. She put down her embroidery hoops and picked up responsibility like a cloak. She found work in Mbuyuni market, patching tears in old tunics and mending uniforms with hands as steady as a hawk's. By afternoon, she sold homemade cloth napkins from a stool outside her mother's window. Every coin she made, she saved. Every meal she cooked, she watched from afar while the others ate first. She didn't complain, not when her brother broke her only radio, not when her sister borrowed her dress and never returned it, not even when her father forgot her birthday every year, because Nala believed in something bigger, that love meant giving without keeping score, that maybe, someday, they would. See, they would remember. 11 years passed like that. 11. And one day, the idea struck her like a drumbeat at festival time. "I'll take them away," she whispered to herself. "Far from this dust and struggle. Somewhere bright. Somewhere beautiful." She chose Mbayani City, a place where the ocean met the sky and buildings rose like stories, a place her family had only seen on posters and passing TV screens at the neighbor's house. Nala made a plan. She didn't just buy tickets. She became a travel agent, a stylist, a dream architect. She spent nights online at the village internet cafe, booking rooms at a sea-facing lodge called Blue Dhow Suites. She helped everyone apply for travel passes. She picked out restaurants serving grilled tilapia and sweet plantain mash. She sewed each of them new clothes, yellow kaftans for her mother, blue linen shirts for her brothers, a red maxi dress for her sister. Not once did she think of herself. She imagined her mother standing wide-eyed beneath skyscrapers, her sister laughing in the waves, her brother tasting ice cream for the first time. That was enough for her. She packed their suitcases, with scented soaps, mosquito repellents, and matching sun hats. She used her last coins to buy herself second-hand sandals, not because they were pretty, but because they would last. And as the departure day drew near, she began to glow. Even the neighbors noticed. "Nala is shining like the morning star," one old woman whispered. But while Nala was dreaming of unity, her family was plotting silence. Inside the compound, behind closed doors and loud laughter, whispers turned into plans. "She's too dull," her sister sneered while scrolling through Kifimbo. "Look at these influencers. Nala will ruin the pictures." "She'll slow us down," her brother Baro said while shining his loafers. She won't even enjoy it, their mother said with a sigh. Always so simple. Then Barrow made it worse. He invited his girlfriend, Zira, a girl who didn't live with them, who never thanked Nala once. He knew there wasn't enough money, but he also knew where Nala kept her emergency stash, wrapped in an old scarf beneath the mat. He took it, all of it. They decided to lie. "We'll say the airline made a mistake," said the mother. "She's used to staying back," whispered the sister, and that was that. The plan was set. The morning of the flight arrived. The air smelled like ripe mangoes and jet fuel. Nala woke before sunrise. She had pressed everyone's clothes, braided her sister's hair the night before, packed extra face towels. She wore a modest green dress and tied her scarf carefully. She carried most of the bags. The line at the check-in counter was moving slowly. Suitcases rolled, boarding passes printed, and above it all, the humming noise of announcements echoed through Mbayani International Airport. Nala stood near the counter, still smiling. She adjusted her mother's head wrap, tightened the strap on her brother's bag, and handed out their passports like a proud matron. Her eyes sparkled with the joy of giving. But then, something shifted. Her family began whispering among themselves. Barrow stepped closer to the counter and started murmuring to the airline staff. Her sister pretended to check her phone. Their mother frowned, trying to look confused. The airline agent tilted his head, checked the screen again, and spoke in a quiet voice. "I'm sorry, but Miss Nala Kintu is not listed on this flight." Nala blinked. "That can't be. I booked everything myself." I double-checked the email. Confirmations. Her mother turned to her with a look of theatrical concern. "Oh, Nala, maybe there was a mistake. A booking issue. It must be the system." Her sister chimed in, reaching for a hug she didn't mean. "It's not your fault." "Don't worry. We'll send you pictures. Maybe next time." Barrow didn't say a word. He was already heading toward the gate, dragging Zira's suitcase, barely glancing back. The airline staff mumbled an apology. "We've had some last-minute updates." Perhaps it was an error, but Nala's eyes drifted behind the counter to the screen. There, clear as day, her name had been crossed out. Not missing, not mistaken, removed. A chill passed through her chest. Her heart started to hammer like a drum. Her hands trembled. Her knees felt weak. But her lips curled into a smile, thin and fragile. "It's okay," she whispered. The family walked, off, posing for pictures with wide grins, throwing peace signs at their phone cameras. Not once did they look back. Nala remained at the check-in counter, surrounded by bags she had packed with love, for people who had none left for her, not left behind by accident, left behind on purpose. She walked slowly to a bench near the window, tucked between two decorative palm trees. Her shoulders sagged, but she didn't cry. She sat quietly, back straight, staring out at the runway. Her heart ached, not just from betrayal, but from shock. The ones she cooked for, stitched for, sacrificed for, had tossed her aside like she was nothing more than the baggage she had carried. Still, she didn't break. Not here. Not in front of strangers. But not every stranger passed her by. From across the floor, Omari saw everything. He had watched her earlier, the one carrying the heaviest bags, answering the most questions, showing the most care. He had seen the family walk away, laughing, leaving her rooted like a forgotten tree. He hesitated for only a second, then walked over. "Excuse me, miss," he said gently. Nala looked up. Omari saw the pain behind her calm. A single tear traced her cheek, but her mouth stayed in that soft, trembling smile. "Are you all right?" he asked. She nodded, then shook her head. Omari crouched beside her, placed a cold bottle of water on the bench. He didn't press her. "They didn't forget you," he said quietly. "They planned this. I saw your name on the screen, then it disappeared." Nala's eyes widened. She had wanted to believe it was a mistake, a glitch, anything but cruelty. But now, hearing the truth from a stranger's mouth broke the last thread of her denial. "They removed you," Omari said, "and the way they acted, that wasn't family. That was betrayal." Nala's lips quivered, her shoulders slumped. "I gave them everything," she whispered. "I know," Omari replied. "But now it's time to give something to yourself." He stood and offered her his hand. "Let me help. I can get you another flight, not just a flight, a better one. But you'll have to trust me, just once." Nala stared at his face, calm, kind, steady. And for the first time that day, she didn't feel invisible. She took his hand. 2 days later, the air inside the cabin was cool and perfumed with lemongrass. Cushioned seats stretched wide, silk blankets lay folded. The stewardess approached, with a smile. "Can I bring you some fresh guava juice, ma'am?" Nala blinked, slowly nodding. She was wrapped in a soft shawl. Her sandals were off. Her toes touched velvet carpet. She was flying first class. Omari had done it. Not with money, but with favors, reward points, and faith. He had made calls, explained, persuaded. Not once did he ask for thanks. He only said, "You matter. You deserve this." Nala looked out the window as the plane soared into the sky. Down below, her family was already in Mbayani, struggling to post the perfect vacation photo. But Nala was no longer thinking of them. She was thinking of the new air beneath her wings. When the plane landed, Omari was waiting. He had made one more call. In the heart of Mbayani's luxury district lived a designer named Adisa Muer. Known for her dramatic gowns and fierce personality, she was in trouble. Her seamstress had quit 2 days before the biggest gala of the year. Omari had shown Adisa samples of Nala's work, photos of hand-sewn dresses, patterns sketched on old paper. Adisa was impressed. "Bring her," she said. Nala arrived. At the boutique, dressed simply, her eyes still wide with disbelief. "I just need steady hands," Adisa told her. "The rest we'll figure out." And so she worked, night after night, stitching silk and velvet, adding beads, folding pleats. Her fingers bled, her eyes stung, but her spirit began to glow. Adisa took her out for coffee during breaks, introduced her to stylists, influencers, and musicians. They saw Nala's kindness, her calm, her gift. Soon, word spread. "She's the tailor from Makula," people whispered, "the one with magic in her fingers." Nala's name began to appear in places she never imagined. On social media, in backstage circles, in whispered praise. They didn't care about her accent or her past. They cared about her hands, her work, her quiet fire. And as her confidence grew, Nala began to see something she had never seen before, her own worth. Back in Mbayani, her family's trip was crumbling. They had arrived with excitement, clicking pictures outside the airport, tagging "Yes, family goals." But when they reached the villa Nala had booked, the host looked puzzled. "Sorry, the booking was cancelled. Payment didn't go through." Confused, they opened emails. Nothing. Barrow tried to argue. Nothing worked. Panic set in. They rushed to a nearby hotel, tried to check in using the card Nala had given. Declined. Again and again. Barrow's face turned pale. Their mother clutched, her bag tighter. The receptionist waited politely. "Call her," whispered Zira. Barrow hesitated, then dialed. The phone rang, and Nala answered. Her voice was calm, cool. "Hello, Barrow. I'm in a meeting. I'll call you back." Click. She ended the call. No yelling, no begging, just calm power. And Barrow knew. The sister he once ignored had become someone he could no longer reach. Nala stood before a grand mirror that evening, in a room high above the glowing streets of Mbayani. Behind her, stylists buzzed like bees, dusting her shoulders, adjusting folds, brushing tiny flecks of lint from her gown. The fabric was her own creation, midnight indigo, hand-stitched, flowing like river water, no glitter, no loud jewels, just grace in every thread. She inhaled deeply. Tonight was the Royal Threads Gala, the most prestigious fashion event on the continent, held in the top floors of the shimmering Tower of the Skies, where glass walls kissed the stars and chandeliers hung like frozen waterfalls. Downstairs, music played like silk. Luxury cars lined the entrance. Powerful people, presidents, daughters, oil tycoons, tech moguls, were walking the red carpet, and soon so would she. When Nala stepped out of the car and onto the carpet, a hush fell. She didn't walk fast. She didn't wave. But her presence was like a drumbeat in a silent room. The gown moved with her soft as breath. Her posture, upright, peaceful, unshakable. People whispered, "Who is she? She's glowing. She must be royalty." Then came Adisa Muir, proud and poised, the head designer who had been saved from disaster by Nala's hands. She took the microphone. "This," she said, placing a hand on Nala's shoulder, "is the tailor from Makula, the woman who rescued my collection when all seemed lost." The crowd erupted in applause. Nala, stunned, gave a shy smile. She wasn't used to spotlights. But tonight she stood tall, no longer the forgotten one, no longer just the helper. Tonight she was the story. High above, nestled in the media box, sat a renowned African fashion influencer named Chichi Nwoke. She was live on her channel, watched by millions. She panned her camera to the crowd, then paused on Nala. "Look at this queen," she said, her voice thick with awe. "So soft, so powerful. Her name is Nala, remember it." Within minutes, the internet exploded. Nala the tailor began trending from Accra to Cape Town. Back in Zambia, people watched. From salons, from shops, from village squares, they recognized her face, the quiet girl who stitched uniforms, the one who walked with her head down. Now she stood among giants, and the world noticed. Meanwhile, far from the glitz, in a cramped, two-star hotel room in a forgotten corner of Mbayani, Nala's family huddled. The room was stuffy, the fan creaked, their clothes wrinkled from days of discomfort. The hotel Wi-Fi barely worked, but it was just enough. Her younger sister, scrolling through her phone, suddenly gasped, That's Nala!" Everyone crowded around. There she was, standing on the red carpet, glowing, graceful, adored. Barrow's mouth dropped open. "Is this a joke?" Their mother dropped her half-eaten bread. She made it before us. They were supposed to be the stars, but they were watching their background character become the heroine. Desperation gripped them. "We need to go," said the mother. "Now." They rushed. No time for makeup, no time for outfits. In a borrowed taxi, they rode to the Tower of the Skies. Outside, cameras flashed. Guards in black suits stood firm. Barrow walked up, chest puffed. "We're Nala's family," he said with forced pride. "We're here to support her." The guard checked a list, shook his head. "Sorry, your names aren't on the guest list." The mother stepped in. "She must have forgotten. Just call her. She'll let us in." Another guard came forward. "Miss Nala said she would meet you after her speech, not before." The family froze. Whispers drifted around them. "Aren't those the ones who left her?" "They're not even dressed." For the first time, they were the ones outside looking in. And Nala, she was no longer the one begging. Inside the gala, lights dimmed. A single spotlight bloomed. Nala stepped forward. Her voice, when it came, was soft, but every word rang clear. "I once believed love meant giving everything you had, even when you had nothing left." People listened, but sometimes the people we call family forget to love us back. They take, they trample, And still, we stay quiet. We call it duty. We call it loyalty. But it's pain. Her throat tightened. She breathed through it. But I've learned something new. That true love, the kind that builds, starts with loving yourself. Applause thundered. She stepped down. Cameras flashed. Dignitaries clapped. And at the entrance, beyond the velvet ropes, her family stood, disheveled, teary-eyed, broken in a way no camera could hide. She walked toward them, not rushed, not angry, just steady. Her mother dropped to her knees. "Forgive me, Nala," she sobbed. "We were wrong." Baro tried to speak. "You didn't deserve it." The younger sister hid her face. The crowd quieted. Phones recorded. Nala paused before them. She gently lifted her mother. Then her siblings. She embraced them, one by one. But her face, calm, not smiling, not angry, just still. Then she leaned in. "I forgive you," she said. The mother's face lit up with hope. But Nala wasn't finished. "But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. And being family doesn't mean I let you walk over me again." Her voice didn't shake. "I am not your doormat." Silence fell. Her family froze. And everyone watching knew. Something had shifted. Nala had risen, not just in name, not just in status, but in spirit. The silence outside the gala was heavier than thunder. Nala's family stood still, their shame now fully dressed in the same light that once ignored her. The cameras didn't stop clicking. Curious onlookers gathered. Some whispered, some shook their heads. But Nala remained poised. She turned to the assistant at her side, a woman in a sleek grey suit, who handed her a slim, cream-coloured envelope. Without fanfare, Nala stepped forward and placed it gently in her mother's trembling hands. "These," she said, her voice smooth as silk but sharp as truth, "are your return tickets. I've booked your flight home for tomorrow morning." Her tone was neither cruel nor kind, just final. She nodded once, a graceful full stop. Then, without another word, she turned and walked back into the Tower of the Skies. Her gown swept behind her like a banner of victory. Her chin was lifted, her spirit untouched, and her family, the same ones who had once laughed without her, travelled without her, and left her in silence, stood frozen. They understood now. The old Nala, soft, silent, sacrificial, was gone. In her place was a woman who had found her voice, and she was never going to lose it again. Back in Makula, the sun rose differently. The air outside Nala's old sewing shop buzzed with voices. Every morning a line formed before the wooden shutters even opened. People waited with folded fabric, ideas in hand and hope in their eyes. The quiet tailor who once stitched in the corner of the marketplace had become a name, a brand. Her shop was no longer just a room with a sewing machine. It had transformed. There were framed pictures on the wall, one from the Royal Threads Gala, one with Adisa Mwere, and one, taken candidly, of Nala adjusting a bride's dress with careful hands and a soft smile. Outside, a painted sign read, "Nala Kintu, the Queen of Stitches." Orders came from everywhere, Lagos, Nairobi, Johannesburg, even as far as Paris and New York. Emails poured in, phone calls, interviews. But through it all, Nala remained, grounded. She still started her day with a cup of ginger tea, still sat in her corner with fabric across her lap, still greeted every customer by name. The only difference? The world finally saw her. And beside her, always nearby, was Omari, the airport worker who had offered her water when her world fell apart. The man who asked for nothing but gave everything that mattered. He was no longer just a ground handler. He was her partner in logistics, in business, and maybe, just maybe, in heart. He helped her set up a global delivery system, built a website, managed schedules. But more than that, he became her mirror, always reminding her of who she was. You didn't just rise, he told her once while they folded fabric under the setting sun. You soared, she smiled. Only because someone believed I could. Nala didn't post about her success. She didn't flaunt magazine covers or boast about the celebrities who wore her gowns. She simply did what she'd always done. She worked, with grace, with care, with love. Reporters visited. Photographers asked for shoots. Brands sent invitations to feature her work. She thanked them all, then returned to her needle and thread. Back in her family's home, things were quieter. Neighbors began asking questions. We saw Nala on the news. Isn't that your daughter? Her mother would smile stiffly. Yes, she's just very busy these days. Barrow boasted at first. That's my sister, you know. I always told her she'd go far. But the truth lingered. They had lost her trust, not her love. Nala didn't cut them off. She still sent school fees when needed, still responded when emergencies came. But the door they used to walk through without knocking, that door now had a lock. She had drawn her boundary. They could visit, but they could no longer trample. One evening, as the sky over Makula turned lavender, Nala sat on her porch, hands resting in her lap. Omari sat beside her, quietly sipping his tea. A little girl passed by, holding her mother's hand. She pointed. Mama, that's the lady from the big tower, right? The one who wears gowns like rivers. Her mother nodded. Yes, baby, but more than that, she's the woman who showed the world that silence can roar. Nala's heart swelled. It was never about revenge. It was never about proving anything. It was about healing, reclaiming, becoming. And in that moment, with the stars peeking out and the laughter of children floating through the air, Nala whispered to herself, They thought they buried me, but they didn't know I was a seed. So let the world know. That quiet girl from the corner of Makula is no longer in the shadows. She is the tailor of destiny, the architect of her own joy. She is the voice that rose from silence. She is Nala, and she will never be forgotten. If this story touched your heart, don't scroll without sharing it.